Oniomania is the term for the obsessive or uncontrollable urge to buy things. But how many people do you know would line up to see a film called Confessions of an Oniomaniac? If you said you would, great. I've got some swampland in Florida that may interest you. But either way, sit back and give your wallet a rest because we're about to prove to you that 2009's Confessions of a Shopaholic is not that bad. Welcome everyone to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. And I can tell you right now that my wife, Carrie, is getting so psyched for this one because we are talking 2009's Confessions of a Shopaholic. Carrie, I'm going to let you say hi because I know you can't contain yourself for this one.
I am so excited. I just have to know who stole my diary and made it into a movie.
Your diary or your confession, your deathbed confession. Like, this is everything I've bought. It's all under the closet. Please sell it so you can pay for my funeral.
Well, I like to collect receipts, so I have a nice little storybook every month of why I'm always broke as a joke.
The Adventures of Carrie, also known as Confessions of a Shopaholic.
I like it.
Right?
Yeah, but the Adventures of Carrie, I mean, they would have had to pay me big bucks for that title. So
now here's the interesting thing, because we have talked on this show about our loves for various authors, and we've already covered One for the Money, from the Janet Evanovich series, and you have confessed your multiple bookshelves of Elmore Leonard books.
And Be Cool. Yeah, we covered Be Cool.
Exactly.
A nod to Elmore Leonard.
So now we're going down a few shelves on the bookshelf to your Sophie Kinsella section. So when you realize that, hey, first of all, there's a movie that they made out of my Sophie Kinsella books. Well, your Sophie Kinsella books, definitely not mine.
Guilty pleasure.
But the fact that the movie actually qualified for our show, how much did you want to grab someone else's credit card and pay for the ass kicking for whoever downvoted this movie?
Oh, you know what? The critics are cruel because this movie was fun. It was on point with the book and how it was intended to be. Like, really, what were they expecting? Why?
You almost have to think that the critics never read a Sophie Kinsella book before going into the movie, or more to the point, never read the book. Because let's be honest, the book is better than the movie. But that's a question that we're going to explore later on in the show. But before we do, we have to take Confessions of a Shopaholic. Do you know how hard it is that I'm saying there, not reminding myself, saying not Confessions of a Dangerous Mind?
Ooh, good movie.
Good movie, doesn't qualify, but this one does. So we're going to take Confessions of a Shopaholic, or a Dangerous Shopaholic, and trailerize it. One woman, armed with only a dozen credit cards, must fend off the advances of a series of increasingly aggressive and coercive mannequins. New York never seemed so dangerous. Rebecca Bloomwood is a tragic fashion assassin with a debilitating lack of funds. But don't worry, because this definitely not finished financial failure has a plan to solve all her woes. Right, one article only, filled with advice she never takes. Smack your editor around with the paper fan that he bought you, and wait for the next sale. Isla Fisher stars in a movie that begs the question, why didn't she just buy knockoffs? She's in New York. That crap's everywhere. Based on the Sophie Kinsella novels, it's Confessions of a Shopaholic. Rated PG for Prada and Gucci.
Right? Couldn't she find the dude with the Star Wars?
You have to explain the story.
Okay.
You cannot tee that up and not tell the story.
Trip to New York, and knockoffs are readily available on the streets of New York, but you have to find the dude with the Star Wars bedsheet full of knockoff Coach bags.
No word of a lie.
Tell him I said hi.
No word of a lie. Some rando dude on the streets of New York with a bunch of stuff in a old, dirty, crumpled up Star Wars bed sheet selling knockoffs. And we're like looking around the corners like we're doing a drug deal. Like, anyone looking? Anyone looking? No. Okay, give me the bag. Give me the bag.
Lucky I didn't get arrested on the streets of New York.
You literally bought a purse like it was a drug deal. That's pretty much how it felt.
Okay, purses are my drug.
Yeah, that's exactly, right? And I guess kind of knockoffs are the gateway drug to the real thing.
I definitely have issues with her credit debt. Because if she has a Gucci, which, and I quote, was worth every penny, she has how many credit cards? Several.
You have to think at least a dozen credit cards.
A dozen credit cards, and her overall total debt was only $16,000.
I don't know. It was less than 10,000.
Oh, are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was like 15 and change.
He said it was like, no, they raised $15,000 at the end of the movie by selling all their stuff. By the way, spoilers, but no, they were only looking for $9,000 some odd dollars and 25 cents.
Okay, I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just looking at, not even in her closet of high-end clothing, but if you were to total up the cash value of her outfit while she's walking on the street of New York
hold
with
on.
the Gucci bag.
Hold on a second here. Are you saying you were playing like Fashion Prices Right while you were watching the movie?
Oh, 1,000% Manhattan once over was in full effect.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know what? It is absolutely impossible. It is impossible that she was only less than 10 grand in debt.
You're like sitting there like the end of Wheel of Fortune going, okay, I'm going to take the Prada for 700. All right, you have a 10,000 left. And I'm going to take the Gucci for 200.
Factual inconsistencies. That was the word I was searching for.
Factual or financial inconsistencies?
Both.
All right, let's break down who's in this film, okay? It stars Isla Fisher, Hugh Dancy, Kristen Ritter, Joan Cusack, John Goodman, John Lithgow, Dame Kristen Scott Thomas, Fred Armisen, Leslie Bibb, Lynn Redgrave, Julie Haggerty, Wendy Malick, and credited as Shoe Store Girl Number 2 in only her second credited film role is Peyton List. Now, if you don't know who Peyton List is, she's currently in Cobra Kai, but she also appeared in Hubie Halloween.
Was that the girl that she took out for the Gucci boots?
No, that's not who she took out. She's just listed as Shoe Store Girl Number 2. So,
Oh, maybe the one that was like, none of this is for sale.
Possibly. Quite possibly.
Okay.
But here's the thing. This movie has an almost starred. Now, this is a very successful novel series. There's zero question about that. So they had quite the list of actresses that they were considering to play Rebecca Bloomwood. Here's the list, according to IMDb. Reese Witherspoon.
I can see it.
Jessica Alba. Jessica Biel. You're meh on that one. Anne Hathaway.
Okay. But The Devil Wears Prada. That would just, no. Can't do it.
Emily Blunt.
Ooh.
Kirsten Dunst. Yeah. Katie Holmes.
No.
Rachel McAdams.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. Amanda Seyfried.
Who?
Really? Oy. Oh, we got to work on this one. And Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. I can see it, but I think they made a great choice.
Mm-hmm. Now, apparently, Reese Witherspoon did turn the role down because she thought it would have been too similar to her role in Legally Blonde, which I can kind of see, but Reese Witherspoon would have been a decent choice. And then there's the role of Derek Smith, as played by Robert Stanton. But it was originally cast to be played by Ed Helms, who played the guy who was in the, Are You a Shopaholic DVD that Kristen Ritter got for Isla Fisher. but scheduling conflicts came up and he couldn't play the role of Derek Smith. So he basically filmed all his stuff in like one day of that, instructional self-help DVD that Sue's got for Rebecca. This was directed by PJ Hogan, and there's some really, really good director credentials here on this one because he's probably best known for directing Muriel's Wedding, which starred Toni Collette, and My Best Friend's Wedding. Like that's a classic when it comes to rom-coms. Here's the one that surprised me though. This is produced by all people, Jerry Bruckheimer. Like Top Gun Maverick, like Black Hawk Down, like Jerry frickin' Bruckheimer did a rom-com. Let me say that again. Jerry frickin' Bruckheimer did a rom-com. The what? And the thing is, it's actually pretty good. Not going to lie. This is based on the first two Shopaholic books, Confessions of a Shopaholic and Shopaholic in Manhattan, written by Sophie Kinsella, which is, in itself, a nom de plume. Because Sophie Kinsella's real name is Madeline Wickham. In case you didn't know. She has written books under both names, but Sophie Kinsella is the more popular, clearly, of the names. It's kind of like the J.K. Rowling route. It's like, I'm going to write Harry Potter, and then I'm going to write this little book that no one buys. And when no one buys it, then I'm going to say, oh, by the way, I'm this person too. Isla Fisher, as Rebecca Bloomwood, was nominated at the Choice Movie Awards that year for Choice Movie Actress in a Comedy. She lost to Anne Hathaway, who was in Bride Wars that year. And the movie itself was nominated for Choice Movie Romance, lost to Twilight.
Now that I think of it, I just want to throw in Anna Kendrick's name.
I could see that.
I think she would have been fun, but they still made a great choice.
Oh, absolutely.
Fisher, but I think she's just fun and quirky enough that she definitely could have added something to that.
Now, according to Wikipedia, this film had a budget of $44 million, which apparently, according to you, is the budget of the wardrobe.
Yep.
Domestically, at the box office, according to IMDb, this film made that $44 million back, and then worldwide, it made $108 million. This film hit the theaters the weekend of Friday the 13th, 2009. And when it debuted at number 4, bringing in just over $15 million. The movie that debuted at number 1 was the remake of Friday the 13th. Like that's cheating. Like I'm not saying, like it's one of those things where it's like, it lost to an Avengers movie or something like that. No. You released on Friday the 13th and they release a Friday the 13th movie on a Friday the 13th. That's cheating. I'm sorry, Warner Brothers, that was cheating. Like, seriously. But it did debut behind. At number 2, He's Just Not That Into You. And at number 3, in its third week, of Taken. And it was close, though. It was very, very close. But just to tell you how bad the rest of the week was. Number 6, in its fifth week, was Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
Ooh.
And at number 8, The Pink Panther 2. Yeah. It wasn't a great week at the box office. But that's the thing. It came out Valentine's Day weekend and lost to a freaking horror movie. How does that happen? Like, if you released it on Halloween and it lost to a horror movie, okay. Who goes to a slasher horror flick on Valentine's Day weekend?
But it's Valentine's Eve. So, and it's a Friday the 13th, and a Friday the 13th film is released in theaters.
That's like saying you're releasing 27 Dresses on Devil's Night. No, it's not. It's for reals, right? Like you would think at least it debuted at like number 2, maybe, but 15 million. 15 million. It's not bad.
It's like a Halloween flick on Halloween.
Yeah, that's cheating. That's right. That's literally, using the, as our kids would say, the Uno reverse card on that one. It's like, you want to debut number 1? I don't think so. The critics, however, had their say on this one. Over at Metacritic, this has a meta score of 38. And over at Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score sits at 49%. 1%. But the tomatometer. The reason why we are here talking about Confessions of a Shopaholic is because this movie sits at 27% tomatometer. You're shaking your head.
The critics are so mean. You know what? It's not the movie that's not that bad. It's the critics that are bad. Bad critics, bad.
This doesn't suck, they suck.
Right?
Right?
Seriously.
Well, let's figure out why the critics maybe...
Where's their haha?
There is actually quite a bit of haha. For a rom-com, there is quite a bit of haha in this. But let's do the breakdown here. And we have to start with Rebecca Bloomwood herself, Isla Fisher. And I like the fact that there was actually quite a list of potentials who could have been Rebecca Bloomwood. But how was Isla Fisher in the title role for you?
Oh, she was so great. You know what? When you read a novel, and especially a novel that has like sequels or further releases, it's
like a full franchise.
Yeah. Shopaholic gets married. Shopaholic and baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shopaholic in Manhattan. Love it.
Which you would think, the fact that it debuted on the same weekend as a Friday the 13th, which should have been like the 7th book. The Shopaholic takes Manhattan.
Right.
Shopaholic in space.
Oh my God. But you know what, though? To answer your question, she was perfect. She was quirky, but still quite smart. And you know what? I loved the scene where she started to Google about writing a convincing article. It was like, did you just Google that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you just Google interesting angles about APRs? Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, leading up to this film, before it's released, to my memory, my only knowledge of Isla Fisher's acting work leading up to Confessions of a Shopaholic was her role in Wedding Crashers. And, she was fun in that, but that's a Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson movie. And, the comedy's a heck of a lot raunchier in that film than it is in here. Here, and it's interesting that you mentioned Anna Kendrick, because Anna Kendrick and Isla Fisher both have really, really great comedic sense, right? Like, a combination of physical comedy and really, really good comedic timing and, fast-paced, funny, quirky delivery. But there was something about Isla Fisher's Rebecca Bloomwood in that, get past all of the the slapstickness of some of the beats, like the dance scene fans to the faces and the for lack of a better term, wardrobe malfunctions with the with the saving the falling woman in the bathroom there. And like, there's a lot of decent, pratfall type comedy, but she actually brought quite a realism to Rebecca Bloomwood. I mean, she is an Oniomaniac, right? She is a shopaholic, right? And she knows she has a problem, and she knows that she needs to stop, and her friends are telling her that she's got to stop. And she is quite the opposite of her, penny pinching, sitting on furniture that has lasted 30, 40 years parents.
But oh my God, was that not a perfect pairing?
Oh, we're gonna get to them in a bit, but yes, truly and honestly, she knows she's got to stop, and she's too either proud. She's both.
It's an addiction.
She's proud and embarrassed, or too proud and embarrassed to ask for help and to admit that she doesn't know how to stop. Like, and that shows, and not in a poking fun of it kind of way. It's not like she's like sitting there, on the floor where they're cross-legged in the middle of the kitchen looking at her credit cards and going, "Why do you hate me?" No, there's some real deep emotions that she's portraying. Like, there's a lot more depth in this than a rom-com generally deserves.
Okay, but there was that scene after the sample sale where she got into a fight over a pair of boots, and then you see her with bags of items that she came home with. So at that point, that is very much the, staring at your bank statement and going, how did this happen? But she's surrounded by items and stuff. And I think that was pivotal.
But even that scene, right? Yes, the shopsident that happened, I'm using the word shopsident now. You're going to start using that word. Every time you hit the dollar store, you're going to come back with 7 bags going, I had a shopsident. But it was very understated and very subtle, right? It's just a slow camera pushing as she's surrounded by all this stuff. And, the moment really is sold to her getting the text message saying, where's my outline for the story from Luke? But you can see that there's just this remorse of like, what have I done? Right? She's like the serial killer standing in the middle of the room full of bloodied bodies that she just slaughtered. But instead of a horror film, it's a shopaholic movie.
You can't get over that Friday the 13th
I will. You know what? Damn you, Jason, for taking this moment away from Rebecca Bloomwood. But that being said, if Jason was wearing sensible shoes, Rebecca Bloomwood would totally slay him.
Those were not sensible shoes she was wearing. Oh my God. I was watching the dance scene and I'm like, if she falls off of those platform heels, it's going to hurt.
Shoes so tall,
she will break an ankle.
She probably needed a stunt double. But that's the interesting thing, is that the strength of a rom-com is, can be pointed in the chemistry between the couple, the rapid fire comediness of it, but also how you feel for the main character, right? So, looking at this, how did you feel for Rebecca as played by Isla Fisher?
Oh my God. She's my soul sister. I want to go shopping with her. Really.
If you ever say I'm going shopping with a veritable Rebecca Bloomwood, I am going to take your credit cards and I am going to put them in a tub full of water, put it in the freezer, and then watch you try to break them free. I ain't going down without a fight here on this one.
They'll melt by the time I get downtown. It's all good.
You would walk downtown with a credit card and a block full of ice, biding your time. You're gonna get to the store, put the block of ice, saying, "I'll be back in 20 minutes." Seriously.
Yorkdale, baby.
Oh. I fear for our credit rating. not our podcast rating. I fear for our credit rating. Let's move on to Kristen Ritter, who played Suze, the best friend. It's funny. You mentioned Anna Kendrick taking the role of Rebecca Bloomwood. I could have seen Anna Kendrick take on this role, but that being said, Kristen Ritter brought. Let me put something out here. One of my most favorite sitcoms of probably the last decade is Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. And she was fun as hell in that. And she brought a lot of those Chloe vibes from that show into this. But rather than being the alcoholic danger to herself and everyone else around her, she's almost like the manic voice of reason in this. But how was Suze for you?
Oh my God, I loved her. I love that they didn't make her the kind of angry, bitter, spiteful, kind of cynical character from her Chloe character in Don't Trust the Bee.
She's not Chloe, but she's fun like Chloe.
She is not oh my God, she's so fun and colorful. And I absolutely loved that. It's funny because you can kind of almost see her as, I don't know if there's almost kind of like a silent envy that, I don't know, that Rebecca gets to go out and do these things and shop and have all the nice things, but yet she's just so quirky and just loves color. And I think she's a real free spirit. She's just she's so cool, and she very much is. She's so. She is so smart. I think she is the voice of reason, and trying to watch out and keep her roommate out of trouble. And I mean, obviously too, right? How is it that Rebecca's making rent to live with her if she's like so far in debt?
Well, okay, let me ask a question here, because you've read the books, at least a few of them, right? Because it was never really addressed, or at least I didn't pick up something in the movie here. What the does Suze do for a living? Because we know, I mean, Rebecca's a writer, and even though she's not making much money because she's working for this small little publication, she's a writer. We get that. What does Suze do? Aside from get ready to get married, what does she do?
Oh, God. Okay. It has been years since I have read the book, I have to admit. And you know what? I binge read it. So I do not have the answer to that.
Because, I mean, because here's the thing. Like, first of all, rent in New York's got to be all about a bitch. I'm not going to lie there. But the interesting thing is, even though that, you know, Suze is bubbly and smart, like you said, and you can tell that there's a long-standing friendship between Suze and Rebecca, it's almost like you could see them going in different directions, because Suze is engaged. You know, she gets engaged. It's announced in the movie, kind of thing. And then a lot of Suze's arc is that she's planning for her wedding and trying to make sure that Rebecca can handle being the maid of honor, can handle walking down the aisle with her, and not getting herself thrown into financial jail because of this. Like it's interesting. Like the whole drunken tequila totaling up your credit card bills thing. That's a friend going down that extra row to help her friend out. But I think that's the thing, is when they get to the scene where Suze realizes that Rebecca doesn't have her bridesmaid dress, because you have to think that Suze probably helped pay for that dress because she knows that Rebecca's, you know, stuck in a rut with zero money to deal with it, right? That's a bit of a, you know, there's some emotion in there, like, because we don't see Suze get mad at Rebecca ever, despite the fact that Suze is the one that helps Rebecca get to Shopaholics Anonymous. Suze is the one that's trying to get her together, basically. So when
she's a friend, I don't think she's just a roommate. She's like,
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It feels like there's a long-term friendship there. But when Suze is standing in the stairwell, and you know, Rebecca's trying to explain how some homeless woman is wearing the bridesmaid's dress, and she's sitting there and just, you know, explain, like, it is because of her bubbliness throughout the entirety of the movie. That scene hits even harder.
Well, it's also her wedding day, right?
Yeah.
She's like, she does not want her special day ruined, yet she loves her best friend. So she also doesn't want to ruin that relationship and do anything to sever those ties.
Yeah. And the fact that Suze never loses her ish or gets super serious, like there's never that moment prior to that. It's like, you know, you have to change your ways. You have to change your ways or you're out of the wedding. Like, none of that. But you have to wonder, because of this, the rawness of that moment, just how long that's been bottling up inside Suze for a while. Because you have to think, the way Rebecca shops, how many lunches has Suze paid for? You know, how many bills has Suze picked up for Rebecca? It's just that one moment, and that this is a total credit to Kristen Ritter's performance in that moment. You have to think that moment is building up. But let's move on to Luke Brandon, as played by Hugh Dancy. Look, first things first, if you like movies, please do yourself a favor and do not go over to Netflix and watch The Attack of the Hollywood Clichés. Because let's be honest, Hugh Dancy as Luke Brandon is the walking, talking cliche of the British meet cute. Right? But, I mean, I got my thoughts on him, but what were your thoughts of Luke Brandon in this?
From what I recall from the book, I kind of found that he was... I don't know exactly what the word would be, but he was kind of a jerk. He wasn't, like, it was an interesting angle that he came from money and yet he was trying to downplay his wealth. And, but I mean, just the scene where he was almost kind of leading the two women along, including Rebecca. And he was like, you know, she's my girlfriend, but she's not you. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I recall.
No, she's not my girlfriend. She's not you.
She's not my, okay, right. But yet he's still stringing both of them along, or at least he's like.
Well, you have to think that Alicia is really making a play for Luke because she probably knows, you know, Luke's background, Luke's family, Luke's wealth, and all that kind of stuff. Plus, she also realizes that he's an editor of one of the magazines, and even though she's working at Olette, you know, okay, let's talk about Alicia before we continue on with Luke here, because this is important.
Pivot.
As played by Leslie Bibb, which I think Elizabeth. My tongue is tied.
Take two.
Take 7. Leslie Bibb playing Alicia Billington. I'm going to go very slowly now.
Say that 5 times fast.
Let me drink another sip and then I'll try. So the thing with Alicia is, you know, her character is pretty much boiled down to leggy blonde who gets the job when Rebecca should. All we know is that Alicia got the job, right? Over, like, as an internal hire kind of thing, as an internal boost, which most umbrella companies like that would prefer to, you know, hire from within and then fill those lower ranks with newer hires to fill the ranks. But the implication is that Alicia isn't as good a writer as Rebecca is when Rebecca is, you know, writing from her heart. But I don't think Alicia's uselessness in that position was really, you know, portrayed well. All we saw was a corporate social climber in her trying to, you know, curry favor with Luke. But I think it would have been more effective. And again, this is nothing on Leslie Bibb. This is absolutely nothing on Leslie Bibb. This is in the filling out of the character as far as Alicia goes. Did she actually deserve the job, or was she a worse writer than Rebecca? And I wish a little bit more of that had been explored.
Again, I think you were absolutely right that she was a social climber. Like, and the company was set up that way. There were no, no misunderstanding there. It was, I mean, that's how it was sold. It's like, it's a family company, and once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
Right? Again, she was very much, you know, a schmoozer. Like, she clearly weaseled herself into the position. Who knows what role she was coming from? That, you know,
it's she was promoted beyond her abilities, clearly. But I wish they'd explore that a bit more, because it would have explained the motivation behind Alicia trying to use Luke as a way to stay relevant in the company.
Yeah, I really don't think that she needed to be explored. I think it was just kind of like it was just a character that was kind of thrown in as an obstacle for Rebecca and Luke's relationship. And that was it. And, you know, a roadblock in Rebecca getting her dream job. So she landed in the financial magazine. So
even something as simple as seeing Alicia's reaction to the success of the girl in the green scarf article. Because, I mean, let's be honest, like part of that, you know, Rebecca's rise in the, you know, Money Sensibilities magazine. I can't remember the title of it, kind of thing. But the fact that article got the attention of the higher ups, like the John Lithgows of the company, it would have been interesting to see Alicia's reaction to that, as opposed to just, hey, this article's doing well. Then all of a sudden, you know, tall, leggy blonde starts to hit on the British meet cute. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just needed it longer. I could see how that could be explored more if this were a series. But in an hour and a half movie, I guess you have to pick your battles here. But let's get back to Luke Brandon here. Aside from being a walking cliche, British meet cute, or, discount Hugh Grant. Let's call it
I was thinking that, but I'm like, Hugh Grant would be a bit old. So.
He would be a bit old, but this would be a much younger, like 4 Weddings and a Funeral era Hugh Grant. So, modern discount Hugh Grant that Hugh Dancy is, right? Even got the first name right. So we're good there. But the fact that he came from money and eventually starts to go out and want to do his own thing without relying on that money. And that adds a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for here? A bit extra quality to his character, a bit more of a nobility to his eventual rise in getting this communications company up. And I like the fact when he's sitting there in the bank trying to get the loan, he uses Rebecca's words like, am I a good investment? Right? Because that's kind of what it is. Although that being said, Hugh Dancy had my favorite look of the whole movie when he's literally dying inside while in the middle of a store while someone is trying to pick out clothes for him. I felt that. Hugh Dancy, I felt that. I was Luke Brandon in that moment. But I mean, all in all, right, is he an effective Luke Brandon for you, or would you recast him?
I wouldn't recast him. I think he was great. But I think the portrayal of the character was kind of had him a little bit cold. Whereas, I think from what I remember, I thought their love was a little bit more instant and mutual. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. Maybe it was just for, the sake of the movie and to kind of give it a bit more of, kind of keep the audience guessing when you kind of know from reading the books, well, there's a shopaholic and gets married and baby. So, they have to wind up together.
Exactly. Sequels, maybe not so much, but although that being said, occasionally, and I have to admit this here, occasionally when I watch a movie and I see a scene, we proved in the Monkey Bone episode that I have the mind of a 13-year-old boy. So there's the moment where, Rebecca's trying to get the hot dog vendor to, do cash back on a personal check. And, he ends up buying, the hot dog and giving her $20. And I'm like, how do you sit there and go, hey, here's $20. Can I buy you a wiener? Like, seriously, you're just sitting there shaking your head now going, I have married a juvenile man. Sorry, not sorry. Right now, there's like one person listening to this going, I feel you, dog.
That would be a horrible pickup line.
Here's $20. Can I buy you a wiener? I'm going to remind you at this point in time that you married me. You chose this life.
Those are the thoughts that were inside your head every street meet date. Really?
Hey, I got $20. Can I buy you a wiener?
And depending on where the hot dog vendor was, it might have been $20 a dog. So.
Yeah, so long as it's not in New York near the guy with the Star Wars bed sheet saying, I got $20. You want my wiener?
Remember that hot dog shop in New York?
I do. It was okay.
It was a little overrated, I think.
It was long and flavorless.
Sad dog.
And on that long and flavorless note, let's move on. I am so sorry to anyone who actually likes this movie, this book, or this writer, for my 13-year-old brain stepping in and joining into the conversation. Joan Cusack and John Goodman as Rebecca's parents. I'm just going to hand the microphone over to you because I know you love them.
Oh my God, I loved them as a couple. I loved them as Rebecca's parents. I loved it was just so beautifully. There's a word, and it was just so nice to watch, right? Mm-hmm. All of the scenes, like you can just tell those parents had their daughter's back, whether she was right or wrong, or thousands of dollars in debt, and based on her advice, unknowingly, but based on her advice, they spent their life savings and
got a giant Winnebago.
It was so nice to see.
Can I just point out here, first of all, Joan Cusack and John Goodman, both absolute gems. Literally everything they do, if they're on the screen, those roles are going to be treated very, very well because they are both of them, phenomenal actors. But there's the scene where they're walking around the flea market, and Joan's like all, like happy, like literally in all her glory, because she knows that anything that sparks her interest she can afford, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's you in a dollar store.
I could buy this entire store.
Yeah.
Or at least this entire aisle. Not anymore. It's expensive now. It's like $5.
It's the multiple dollar store. Well, I have a feeling up here in Canada, because we no longer have paper ones and paper twos. They're just like, well, the only dollar we really have is the 5, so let's make everything $5. So,
to be fair, though, the quality of their product has gone up.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're getting actual real brand name spam, whereas before you have your take your chances looks like meat in a can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tons of Disney stuff, right? Because I think they're buying it off of
like wholesale
Disney
kind of thing.
Franchise that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, back of a truck Disney. That's pretty much it. But I mean, maybe it's just me. I mean, first of all, Joan Cusack is great. She is. But John Goodman. Tell me John Goodman isn't everyone's dad in every movie that he's in.
You know what? He is the quintessential dad character. Mm-hmm. Like, I wonder if he's adopting. Like, I would put my resume in for sure.
Now, that being said, I have not watched 10 Cloverfield Lane, and I'd be afraid of what Dad was going to do there. But I mean, it's almost like the Wilford Brimley rule, right? Yeah. Wilford Brimley was everyone's grandfather. Right? No matter what role Wilford Brimley was in, when he got to like cocoon age, he literally was everyone's grandfather. John Goodman is everyone's dad. He's just such a treat.
Now Robert De Niro is like the creepy, not creepy grandfather, but the dirty grandfather.
He is the get off my lawn or I'll beat you with a golf club grandfather. Okay. Some minor characters here. Kristen Scott Thomas as Alette Naylor, the owner of Alette, the magazine that she wants to work for.
Smaller, petite.
Your thoughts on her?
She was great. She was fun. And you know what a pivotal scene too. Like, you could really see Rebecca's. She put her passion for writing over, just taking any offer, right? I think she really wanted to keep the job that she was in. And
yeah. Now, I do know that she has gone on record saying she actually did not have a good time filming this because, as she put it, you just sit around and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And she's like, not that I've been asked back for a sequel, but, so it is interesting that, like, she actually was quite good in this, despite apparently not having the best of time on sets, according to IMDb.
She had such a small role.
It was a small, and that's why I haven't really brought up John Lithgow, because he's barely in it.
Oh, but he was so good.
Okay, but every now and then, and I'm sorry, John Lithgow, as much as I think you are a phenomenal actor, I cannot see you in anything now without thinking the Trinity Killer from Dexter. I'm sorry, no matter how pleasant and lovely your role may be, pretty darn Skippy, you're going to stab me.
I want to go back and watch Third Rock.
Third Rock might make it better. Dexter season 4 will make it much, much worse. Robert Stanton is Derek Smith.
It was funny. It was that scene where he finally, what was it, on the TV talk show?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the ex-boyfriend.
Go on, the more you think about it, the funnier it gets.
Yeah.
But
so self-aware.
But I can see why they wanted Ed Helms for that role. But I'm actually happier that it wasn't him, because that exact joke, that exact line that you said, I think makes more sense coming from Robert Stanton. Like Ed Helms, he's probably going to, if Ed Helms ever hears this podcast, he's about to record this next part of making his ringtone. Ed Helms is too handsome a man for that line.
You're absolutely right.
You're welcome, Ed Helms. but no, I think there was something perfectly creepy about Robert Stanton's portrayal of Derek. Okay, I have to say, this might have been my biggest smile as far as an on-screen character goes, but Julie Haggerty as the assistant to the Smart Money magazine, the one that's constantly... First of all, Julie Haggerty is an absolute gem. Loved her ever since Airplane. So to see her in this role, and it's funny, like she's almost as motherly as Joan Cusack is to Rebecca, and I think she's also as caretaking to Luke as she is to Rebecca.
I mean, which made her the absolute perfect choice for the assistant. Because you can tell that she was more than just the office assistant. She really took care of the staff. Like, really. And really cared for each one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that she was supporting Rebecca when she spun the tall tale about Derek Smythe, like a stalker ex-boyfriend, and okay, so we're not going to accept any more calls from him, and oh, it's okay, honey, like we'll make sure that you're safe here. It's just like
every
brilliant.
Office needs a Julie Haggerty in their office to take care of pretty much everyone in it, and it just reminds you of just how good she is as an actress. Like in Airplane, like she comes across as so sweet and so lovely, and yet has some of the funniest moments in that film. And in a Zucker Abrams Zucker production, there's lots of laughs to be had. You have to think that Leslie Nielsen's going to take a lot of them, but holy crap, Julie Haggerty, funny as hell. Loved her in this. A couple things I want to point out here. The mannequins. This was a cool idea, like how the mannequins were coming to life and trying to act as purse pushers towards Rebecca.
Which is a true thing. It happens. They talk to you.
Well, we got bigger problems than you shopping if that's the case. But and this probably goes towards my preferences in like the shows and movies that I like to watch. But did it not feel like a Doctor Who Christmas special with the mannequins coming to life and trying to push things on her?
No.
But now that you think about it,
no, because okay, I mean, you know what? All joking aside, when you are out shopping, right, and you see these mannequins beautifully dressed, or they deliberately put probably the most expensive handbag in their store, like just going perfectly with this outfit, and then you stop and you're like, oh, that is a really well put together outfit. I have to have it. And that bag, like they don't actually talk to you. I don't actually have conversations or hear voices. But they might as well be holding a sign that says, look here, dummy, you want this outfit and the bag.
Buy this purse, you'll feel so good.
Exactly.
But the mannequins were much more effective than the rando in New York with the Star Wars bedsheet. But for the record, by the way, and it's no secret that I'm a Star Wars fan, dude would not sell us the Star Wars bedsheet. I'm sorry, but he didn't.
I would not let you bring that home.
It's like walk around New York with a Star Wars bedsheet held out by a pair of chopsticks because you don't want to touch it. I'm going to wash it. I'm going to wash it 7 times before we go home.
Burn it.
Now, one of the biggest things about this movie is, and this might have actually affected the critic score in this one, is you have to think about the time that it's released. Not the fact that it's released on Friday the 13th. Damn you, Jason. But 2009 is smack dab in the middle of the recession. And you have to think that a movie about someone who gets herself into trouble by buying all these, straight up high end brand name, top of the line, mannequin got, pushed it on her kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of money and a lot of people probably feeling the penny pinch of the actual real life recession. Do you think that may have played into the critics' score in them thinking that it's not necessarily the best socioeconomic time to put a movie out like this?
Fascinating. Now that I think of it, I'm waiting for the sequel.
IPs and sequels. Okay, but since you're talking sequel then, would you rather have a Shopaholic sequel, still with Isla Fisher, or would you rather have an Isla Fisher-led series?
I think what I would like is like a combination. I'm probably a sequel or a series. I think a series would be best because then you can incorporate, because there are so many books now. I was actually looking at it, and there's a few books that I actually don't own.
I'm working on it.
So
I'm just waiting to find the bookstore with the mannequins holding the book going, she really wants this one.
yeah, I'm a little bit behind. And again, haven't read them in years. However, I think a series where they can touch on, the wedding and then the baby. And then I think there's Shopaholic in Manhattan. And then there was Dreams of a Shopaholic or something like that. I don't know. There are, and Shopaholic and Sister.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just so many stories and they're all so incredibly fun. And yeah, I think Isla Fisher would be fantastic to continue the role.
I was going to say, still to this day, I don't even think Isla Fisher has really changed over the years. Like, she still looks exactly the freaking same. So
yeah, I would be disappointed if they changed the character, if it were a series. Like, you know how they do that, and it's like, no, I just can't. I can't see it the same way.
Yeah, like I could very much see, like, if like a Netflix picked this up and all that, but they wanted to start from the beginning of the story rather than pick up where the movie left off. Like, they would probably hire someone like a Sadie Sink to take over the role and start fresh. But that being said, Isla Fisher is still like solid as an actress, still looks pretty much exactly the same as she did in this film, and that film is now 13 years old, so clearly she's drinking the Jennifer Aniston Paul Rudd elixir of youth.
The Evian water?
Yeah, pretty much that. I thought it was the Fiji water.
No, I thought Jennifer Aniston was the Evian.
Well, Zendaya is pushing water too, so like everyone's drinking the elixir of youth. Apparently,
it's water.
Yeah.
Turn on the tap.
But here's the secret: there's water in beer and coffee. So, and those two don't make me want to buy all the things. So that's good. I'll just sit at home, have my coffee, have my beer, and not buy lots of things.
I drink the water because I buy the things. I can't afford the beer.
I drink the beer when you do buy the things. So
I buy you the beer when I buy the things.
That's when I don't notice the things that you buy because you bought me the beer and I said, I'm good for the night.
It's all good. Circular logic.
The circle of life. So this, I'll just hold up my beer like it's Simba, okay? Oniomania.
Note to self, next time you buy a purse, fill it full of beer.
Yeah, exactly. If there's a
He won't notice the purse.
She's got a Prada bag in one hand and a 6-pack in the other, we're good to go.
Yes.
Twitter has spoken on this one. Big shout out to the Hit List podcast for chiming in with this. I'm not a fan of rom-com films, but this and Hitch are my favorites. And I don't really have a problem with this rom-com film. I'm not the biggest fan of Hitch, I'm not going to lie. But let me put this to you. How does this sit in the pantheon of rom-com films for you?
I mean, I loved it, but I'm also very biased because I love the story. Mm-hmm. On its own, if I had just seen this as a movie, I would I would be thrilled, I mean, I thought it was great. I think, I don't know. The only downfall that I see is, again, the just the buildup of their relationship. Like, I think
a little rushed.
They made it almost a little bit more challenged than it needed to be by adding in
$20 wieners.
Yeah.
Couldn't let it go. I mean, we've said on this podcast, like, I know at least for myself, America's Sweethearts is kind of up there when it comes to the rom-coms. And I'm not exactly the biggest rom-com guy. I don't know if Confessions holds a candle to a movie like a When Harry Met Sally, but it's a fun film. It's way better than a 27% film. Like, honestly, I could see this sitting around a 60%. Like, it's 60 to 65. I think you can overlook, like, any flaws that are there are very, very minimal. I do wonder if it's one of those things where, again, much like One for the Money, which you didn't even know existed until we started to do this podcast, if it's one of those things where it's catered not necessarily to the rom-com audience, but to literally the Sophie Kinsella audience.
Could very well be. Yeah, but I mean, what was the audience score again?
The audience score was 49.
It's still low, though.
Very low, which surprises me. That's why I wonder if the weight of the recession affected the original critic scores. It's a possibility, because there's a bit of a disconnect. Like, yes, you can easily see someone getting themselves into a bit of a financial trouble because they like to buy the shiny, pretty things.
I'm feeling very attacked at the moment.
Yeah, well, luckily you buy yourself a dollar store. But the interesting thing is that given her potential credit rating at that point, who the hell is going to give her 10th, 11th, and 12th credit card by this point? Like, that's a little bit of unrealism. I recognize it's for comedy effect kind of thing, but there's a lot of irresponsibility in her buying. It's fun, it's quirky, it's great, but you can see someone who may have gotten themselves into financial trouble can't just, sell their goods out of that trouble. So,
but how brilliant was that to have
an auction?
Yeah.
But the thing is,
a sale.
She doesn't make that much money unless she is the girl in the green scarf, right? Her one article got her $16,000 basically.
I think the final bid was $300, but
on the scarf, yes, but the overall take for the auction and the sale was $16,000. Which, for the record, though, I do have to say, if you ever owe a big chunk of money, and the collection agency is being a pain in the ass, you get every penny you can, put it in a jar, and you bring it to them.
You are not touching my bags. You are not selling. No.
No, but I will do my best to fill that giant cheese ball tub, that empty tub that held cheese balls filled with coins. And then we'll go shopping. We'll shop with that and that'll be fine. Okay, so it is time to put it all on the line. So, Carrie, who is your MVP of 2009's Confessions of a Shopaholic?
Oh, so many to choose from. So many choices.
No, you're picking an MVP. You're not shopping.
Can I hear yours first?
Absolutely.
All right.
I have zero problems with this one. And as much as Julie Haggerty is an absolute sweetheart in this is one of the few times where I have to go with the lead actress. Because Isla Fisher, this movie is nowhere near as good as it is if she isn't charming, vulnerable, sweet, funny, like the whole works. Like Isla Fisher, if the ratings on it weren't so bad, this would have had sequels. I honestly believe that's the case because the source material's there. She's perfect in the role. It's fun as hell. Isla Fisher made this movie as good as it is. And if it wasn't her, it wouldn't have made the money back. That's my own personal take on this. But what are your thoughts?
All right. I agree with you. I'm also going to give props to, can I do a 50-50 split on the parents?
It's a 2-for-1 sale. Go ahead.
Yeah, John Goodman and...
oh, you want a 3-for-1 sale?
What? No.
Two parents?
There are two parents,
yes.
Joan Cusack and John Goodman. I don't know about who would be the third?
I guess maybe Julie Haggerty? Pseudo mom? Work mom? Mm-hmm.
No. You know what? Again... I think they were absolutely so incredibly sincere and definitely had her back, even though she was in a great amount of debt. And I thought it was very sweet. And I'm gonna give props to John Goodman too, like just to see him kick back in his lounge chair and
that goes way too far.
On.
Yeah. and you know that furniture is falling apart because they haven't touched it in years.
And oh God, like when Rebecca was on TV and he called Joan Cusack into the room and he was just like, you could tell she was so used to just like kind of, yes, dear, what do you want, dear? Can I get you something, dear? Can I crack you open a beer, dear? Like, and then so she comes running in. She's like, what? It was so good.
I have to say, Joan Cusack and John Goodman may be the most realistic set of parents in any rom-com.
They were delightful. They were so charming. And yeah, like you could just tell like Rebecca had a fantastic support system between her parents and Suze. Yeah, her roommate. So, and you know, inevitably, right? Luke, right? When they fell in love.
Yeah. Again, Joan Cusack, John Goodman, Rebecca did have the best parents. I will absolutely agree. It doesn't change my MVP from Isla Fisher, but, you know, really good performances all around. Carrie, thank you for this. I know you enjoyed watching this movie. Maybe next time we'll sneak a sci-fi film in. You know, just saying. Just saying, maybe, just maybe. But it was a fun film. Totally fun. And to you, our listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode of It's Not That Bad. Now, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that is unfairly maligned or you think is so bad that there's no way in heck that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on Twitter at NotThatBadcast and we will watch it. We will dissect it and we will find the good things because we are looking for those A grades in B movies. Thank you so much once again. I'm Jay. She's Carrie. Lovely as always. To you, our listeners, yeah, you're lovely too. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
Happy shopping.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, Skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.